Hi, and welcome to the Unreal Engine News and Community Spotlight. We have a couple really sweet guest blogs this week. The first one is from Oleg of Luden.io, and he talks about the development of their AR God simulator Arrived. And it's actually a really wonderful piece. He talks about some of the stresses of getting to ship and just the whole process of going from like they're familiar with VR development into AR and their experience playtesting where they had hoped to have something a little more story driven, but once you put it in the hands of your players, they're all just poking these cute little guys that you can see and getting them to interact with their environment. And they've developed a really cool system that actually recognizes things in the scene that are in the real world. So, you know, if a dog walks up, they actually sort of like react to these little guys. So it's a really fun story, and I definitely recommend reading through that. And he has some great tips for getting started or what to be on the lookout for if you're doing AR development yourself. Our second guest blog this week was actually from the folks that developed Q.U.B.E. So Harry Core authored this article, and he's talking about the story of him and his two-man art team, how they're trying to create all these stunning environments and work on the level design, inspired by a minimalistic design and how they can leverage a modular environment to create 6 to 7 hours of this environment that they need for the game, and kind of how they've leveraged marketplace assets to actually help speed up that process. And it's just a fun little read, and you should go check that one out too. Onto our weekly karma earners. So these folks are jumping into Answer Hub, answering questions, and rocking the world for their fellow community members. So we just want to give a huge shout out to Sardorian, VR Marco, Jen BE, Thompson N13, Eric 321123, Ali Akbar, Titanic Games, Shadow River, Zarator, and Pure Pop. You guys are the bomb. On to our community spotlight. Our first item this week, or our first project, is a student project called The Resistance. They've actually done a really nice job of outlining sort of their whole process and taking note of their development pipeline. They were actually featured on 80 level, so great job. It's looking really wonderful, and I'm excited to see the environment and the interaction as they keep developing and expanding on it. And their characters are looking really wonderful, so great job to that team there. And again, that 80 level article is definitely worth a read through. Our second community spotlight is a 2D game called Alien Seasons. So it's actually just a lone developer, and she's working on this game. It's for kids, but I love the cute environment, and it's really bright, and it's just a different use that we don't see a lot of kid games being developed in Engine. And you can actually go grab a promo code. She's looking for playtesters to check it out, and you should grab one and give her some feedback. And our third and final spotlight this week is the Goblin from Harry Potter. So he's developed this character. It's a real-time character rendered in UE4 and by Baolong Zhang. And this piece is just so beautiful. When we started sharing around the office, we were just all like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. So we're all incredibly impressed by this piece, and we love seeing the work that he's able to produce. And so great job to Mr. Zhang. All those details, they're insane. Well, all right, that's our news and community spotlight. Thanks for joining. Hey all, welcome to the Unreal Engine livestream. I'm your host Amanda Bott, and returning with me I have Tom Shannon, the technical artist education. So,
education.
right. So we're actually getting ready to kick off our winter E4 jam. I hope you all are really excited to start working on some things. We have an exciting, well, we think is an exciting theme for you all. But before we dive in or get to all those nitty-gritty details, for those folks that either haven't jammed before or would like some help on how to sort of expedite your development process, Tom's going to go through a stream or a talk on getting you started and really getting you rolling faster, compressing your
Hmm.
projects down to something a little more digestible.
Yeah, yeah. Development for game jams is a little different than normal development.
Hmm.
Usually, when you're developing, you'll spend more time in pre-production than you will through the whole development process of a game jam game.
Right.
So, best practices for developing a game aren't exactly the same as for developing a game jam game.
Right.
There's some things that you need to think about and some things that you need to prepare. And so even experienced developers can walk into a game jam and feel really overwhelmed
Hmm.
by having, 3 days or 2 days or
Yeah.
sometimes even less to make something that runs. So it's a really fun exercise. So yeah, I'm gonna cover some best practices for game jams, not necessarily for all games.
Right. Not game
Uh,
development at large.
right, right. You might not apply all these lessons, but quite a few you will. You'll learn a lot of lessons doing game jams. Um, and then I'll cover some resources that y'all can use to help speed up your development process, including the Game Jam toolkit. I'll give a quick demo of that just so you can see how easy it is to integrate. Uh,
And you built that, or you put it together,
I put
right?
that
Yeah.
together. So I kind of know how it works, so it should look easy when I do it. Um, and then, yeah, just some tips and advice from myself and from some other Epic people who chimed in. I sent out an email to everyone and said I need advice for game
Hmm.
jammers, and everyone sent tons of great advice, and so a lot of this is compiled and stolen from them.
It's a
So
collaborative.
a collaborative effort. Um, so yeah, without further ado, let's get started here. So before the jam, yesterday, you should have done all this stuff that I'm going to talk about. And you've got like 20 minutes now to try and do it all
To pack
before
all
the
this
jam
in.
starts.
Yeah.
So if you haven't, keep up. Uh, Unfortunately, I can't go back in time and give you this advice, so do what you can. So before the jam, get UE4 and all your tools installed. Get them all ready to go. Don't waste time downloading gigabytes of information and fighting with servers that go down. Get your content ready. Download stuff from the marketplace. Um, Set up source control. And each one of these two I'll cover in
Hmm.
a little more detail as we go on. It's just kind of a little
And really
overview here.
quickly, like speaking of source control, so Assembler is providing spaces for folks that want access to Perforce or things like that. So if you still want that, you can message me on the forums and I can send you an invite to get you set up. And so that doesn't have to be done. Ideally, it's done before the jam, but there's still time if you want access to that.
And source control is definitely one of those things that if you can get it set up, it will give you a huge advantage in your development, even as a single developer. So you should really take advantage. And Assemble is a great, easy way of getting it set up because it's really kind of push button, follow a tutorial, and you've got a server. And then, of course, set your goals and expectations for a game jam because they are different than your game. So get UE4 installed. I recommend using the launcher version. You, of course, can get it from GitHub. You can get versions from NVIDIA. Um, but that's going to add a lot of extra effort to your game jam. Of course, if you're a team that works regularly on a custom build or you're used to doing that and distributing it to your other team members, then of course go for it. But it's going to add a lot of extra complexity and a lot more data to move around to the various team members. Whereas the launcher, you can just go in, click get the latest 4.18 version, and you're good to go. I would suggest not using the preview versions for obvious reasons. You'll get some new cool stuff, but it might not be stable. Um, and it's probably not the best time to try out all that new stuff. Um, Second, get your content together. Download the stuff. Go into the samples and learning content in the launcher. Um, in fact, I'll bring that up real quick here. So in the Learning tab here, there's an absolute ton. All of these projects you can use for your game jam, all of the assets in there. Some of them are really, really big. So you should do this ahead of time, especially if you're going to a game jam that's at a site, because you're going to be sharing the Wi-Fi with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so trying to download gigs and gigs of stuff through some shared Wi-Fi is going to slow you down
A
a
little
lot,
brutal.
just a little. So yeah, go ahead and I just have all these things on my hard drive all the time so that I can pull stuff out of it because there's just super great content. And of course, there's the marketplace where you can find just tons and tons of stuff to use. There's free stuff up here, there's paid stuff. You're welcome to use any of this stuff in your game jam. And of course, there's also tons of stuff out there from the community. So you can, just Google search. I'll provide some more links to some community sites here in a little bit. So there's a lot of places to get a lot of stuff, but you want to get that first.
Right.
So that you can just dig into it. You don't want to have to deal with that from in a live situation.
And we just want to make sure, like, when you're getting these assets, like, we're totally for you using them. Sometimes you're not an artist and you're just like, I just need things to put in my scene to make it pretty and all this. We just ask that you note those in your submission. We have a list for you to mention any assets you've used that you haven't created. And so it doesn't hurt your chances at winning or any of your score or any of that. We just don't take that into consideration as part of your final score.
Yeah. And of course, as Canon would mention, make sure that you check the licenses for any content that you get that's outside of the marketplace or the launcher. Do your attribution, make sure that you can use it. Even just a basic Google image search. Most of the images you find there, you're not allowed to use. And if you want to release this game even on a public forum, you need to make sure your licenses are all good. So next up is, once again, source control. And I'm going to say this a few times. Source control is so good. There's a lot of different types of source control that you can use with UE4. The most common one is Perforce, of course. Perforce costs money, but it is free for teams up to 5 users. You can spin up a Perforce instance on Assembler really easily. It's built into the engine, and once you know how to use it, it works really well. SVN is a very similar versioning system. Again, you can set up an SVN instance on Assembler. You can also get SVN for free. SVN's an open source versioning platform, and it's got a couple pretty good clients and servers. The most common one is Tortoise SVN, which is linked here, and we'll provide this slide deck, of course. You can also use folder syncing systems like Dropbox, Box, and OneDrive. They work pretty well, but they're finicky. If one person destroys the project, it's destroyed for everyone. So always make backups if you're using that. And then if you have to and you can't deal with any of these others, thumb drive, a shared network folder will work. Of course, also back those up regularly because same sort of thing. If one person messes it up, it's messed up for everybody. And then Abysmal is you only live once. Let's just do this and hope it doesn't crash. A shorter game jam, you have a pretty slim chance, but with version control, the biggest advantage it has is the ability to go back in time. So even if you're just a single developer, with version control, you can go back to the way your game was in the past with a click of a button. You may lose some work, but you'll also lose the stuff that broke your game. So it's better to lose an hour's worth of work than 2.5 days worth of work. So it's well worth investing the time to get yourself and your team using the source control. And then set your goals and expectations. I talked about it briefly. You've got a very little bit of time to make a game. And you have to do some stuff like eat and sleep and go to the bathroom. those things will take some of your time away. Uh, so you've got to really set your expectations of what you'll be able to deliver,
Right.
what you'll be able to develop, um, and and by doing so, you'll make yourself much happier in the end. Um, so also, like I said, you need to find time to sleep and eat. Um, Make sure that you schedule that in and you decide as a team when you will be working and when you won't. Set realistic deadlines for yourself too. Make sure you have a deadline for getting a first playable, a deadline for making sure it's packaged for the first time. Make sure that you have reasonable deadlines and that you
Yeah.
really push yourself to meet those deadlines, because if you miss a deadline in a 2-day jam, you're going to miss the end.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. A lot of times that at least on the on-site jams I've been to, like the teams that I feel like have the highest odds of succeeding are the ones that have a playable as soon as possible. They get to a point where they can play very, very quickly, and then polish from there. But if you're like waiting till the last day to even build or see if it plays, or that's where the teams get in a lot of trouble, because you may have like missed something, and no matter how small it is, that's still time that you have to go back and like fix that, trying to get it out the door. Whereas if
Right.
you've got it in a playable state
Then it's a game
earlier,
at least.
then you at least have
At the
something and you
very least,
can
you have a
build
playable
upon
game,
that. Yeah.
and it can only get better from there. Knock on wood. And relax. It's just a game jam. We've got some prizes, but there's really nothing you're going to lose. You're not going to get fired. You're not, you know. It's not like regular game development. If you totally fail, you're still going to have a great time. You're going to meet people and have a good time. So, really, your expectation should be to have as much fun as possible.
Right. It's about having fun and learning. And
Right. It's really not about specifically making or shipping or producing a game or winning. It's really just about having fun. So that's what you should have done. You're all ready, right? You did all that.
yep, done.
Experts at source control and got all your stuff. So next step is then your hosts will tell you the theme and you're going to start jamming soon. Soon, it says. So while you're jamming, use resources. We got lots of resources. Make it playable as soon as possible. Look at that.
Look.
She knows what's up. Like Amanda said, if it's playable, it's a game. And so at that point, you're just adding fun to it or art to it. So even just getting to the most basic playable state is going to be better than maybe 25% of the games and game jams that never even get to that point. So make it playable. Cook, package, and test goes along with that. You want to make sure that it packages early on because you have to package it to submit it. So if it's not packaging, we can't judge it. From Michael Noland comes the advice to reduce scope and then reduce the scope some more.
Yep.
Whatever grand idea you came up with when you heard the theme, just cut it down. Cut it down. Just find that one thing and cut it down. And sleep, eat, and take care of yourself. That's something that was advice from pretty much everyone was don't jam for 24, 48 hours, 38, whatever. Take care of yourself.
Right.
And then package and test again, because if you don't package it, you can't play it. So use your resources liberally. There's a ton of resources out there. We've got gameplay templates, so you can get your game started, whatever kind of basic game that you want. There's the marketplace, the learning resources, which I showed, and all those demo projects. Use all that stuff. We've got the Game Jam toolkit. It will give you a main menu and a bunch of really common assets, explosions and graphics and master materials and an outline shader, just stuff that's really kind of common, and you don't want to have to spend time making a master material. Get help. There's so much help out there. There's the official documentation and the answer hub for kind of offline help. I highly recommend Unreal Slackers, especially during Game Jam. There's 10,000 users on there.
Yeah.
And it's not a Slack channel anymore. It's actually a Discord channel. They've moved about
Yeah.
from Skype to Slack, now to Discord. But there's thousands of people on there live all the time. There's people from Epic there. There's top members of the community moderating. If you need an answer right now, that's a great place to go. You'll at least start a conversation about it. In addition to that, there's the Facebook developer group, and they're pushing on to 50,000 members in that. So not quite as real time, but there's so many people, and there's a lot of people that use Facebook that don't use Discord. So if you're super stuck, post it both places, and hopefully someone will have the right answer. In addition to those, I want to mention Romero Blueprints. It's a great website. He's gone and just broke down pretty much every blueprint node. So if you're wondering how something works or isn't working in blueprints, check out his website. And then Matthew Wadstein, I think it's Stein, if I know my German right. He's developed a ton of videos for Unreal 4. He's done the WTF series, which breaks down a lot of the core functionality that you see in Unreal. And then he also made a whole video series of Game Jam tips and tricks for Unreal Engine 4. Each one's like 5 minutes long. It goes through a bunch of the templates and how you can use them to get started. There's a bunch more resources I have listed here. There's a bunch of free editors out there for imaging, 3D modeling, audio, and then there's also a bunch of free assets that you can get. Again, with those free assets, I mentioned there the licensing. Make sure that the license on the specific one you're downloading allows you to use it, because it varies from author to author on these sites. But usually it's pretty easy. So real quick, I'd like to give a demo of the Game Jam toolkit as one of those resources, as well as the templates, and show you how you can use those to really quickly make up a game. So let me pull up my project launcher. So I'm in the new project here, and I'm actually going to start and make a blank project. We're going to do it for desktop at maximum quality. I don't want the starter content. I just want a blank project. And I'm going to call it Game Jam because that's easy enough to remember.
Real creative.
We're creating this project. And then I also went and I did my homework because I followed my own advice. And I downloaded the Game Jam kit and unzipped it. And so now I can. So the Game Jam kit is just a bunch of assets that can be dropped in your content folder. So we just need to find our content folder. And that's easy enough. It's on our E drive, or D drive, excuse me.
Tucked away.
It's on my C drive. I know where it is. There it is.
I believe you.
So there's the content. And we'll just take this guy and we'll drag both of these in. You can do just the Game Jam kit. The UFO demo is a small demo game that I've built using the content of the Game Jam kit. So you can dig into that and see how I did it. So I drag those into the content folder, and they didn't show up. Why not, Amanda?
I don't know. What happened? Where are they, Tom?
I don't know. We're going to find our content folder.
Are they hiding?
Show and explore. Show and explorer. Thank you. Well, they should be there.
This is a very representative of game development.
This is exactly how it should work. And I've done this test, a bunch of times, and it's worked flawlessly otherwise. So anyway, we'll just go back to that and launch it again.
It's the pressure of being live.
Well, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, and Sam's not here, so
Right.
of course it's not going to work this time.
See, like your good luck.
Yeah,
Make
he
sure
is
it
my
works.
good luck charm.
Yeah.
If he's here, it won't go wrong. Look, there's my folders.
Ta-da!
And that blueprint that I made. So hopefully I didn't confuse anyone by making that. It was just so I could make sure I was going to the right content folder. So in our game here, we've got no game. So I'm going to add a feature or content pack. So you can actually add in the templates after you've made your project, which is something not everyone knows. So you can have multiple of these templates in one project. I'm just going to choose the twin stick shooter, and I'm going to choose add to project. That was quick. So here we get our twin stick BP, and we'll open up its example map, and it'll compile some shaders while I play. Whee! And so this provides you with just this little ship. And if I had a controller, I'd get analog control and could move anywhere and shoot with the right stick. But instead, I move with WASD and shoot with the arrow keys. So in this case, I've only got 8 directions, but still pretty fun. So you can see it doesn't have a HUD or any scoring systems, just a basic projectile and a pawn that moves around. So if we want to add a pause menu, we can do that with the Game Jam kit. And it's super easy. All we have to do is go into our world settings. We have our game mode here, which is the game mode that came with the template, the twin stick game mode. And for the HUD, we're just going to set that to the in-game HUD. Now if I play, come here, you'll see right away the only thing I got was that little UE4 logo that fades in. That's the loading screen that fades in and out. But nothing else will happen. We do have to wire some stuff up. So in our pawn, we can just go and give it an event. Let's give it escape. Because we want to, when we hit escape, we want the pause menu to come up. So I'm going to do escape. And I'm also going to do Control-V, Control-C, Control-V to duplicate it. I'm also going to do a Shift Escape. The reason I'm going to do that is when you play an editor and you hit escape, it exits the editor. So Shift Escape is a way that I can kind of use that in editor, and it'll provide the same sort of behavior. So to get the pause menu to come up, all I have to do is get my player controller. Get my player controller. I'm going to get the HUD class because we assign the HUD to the in the world settings here. We assign the HUD to our HUD class, and when we get HUD, we get this guy. And then it's all set up using interfaces, so we can just say show or set pause, I believe. We can set pause, and we're going to say yes to paused. We are going to set it to paused. So when we press escape now, we're going to get the HUD and tell it to pause. So I can compile, and we'll shrink that down. We'll play, and now I can move around, and Shift Escape brings up the pause menu. I can't control, I can resume, I can go back to our main menu, which we'll do in just a sec, and I can quit. So if I hit quit, it quits. It even quits in here, and if I hit resume, it resumes the game. But if I hit main menu, it's going to say error, it's not specified. So we actually have to go in, and in the HUD, well, first we need a main menu map. So let's do that, and it's also super easy. So in here, I'm just going to, let's do it in here, in our maps folder. We will make a new map, new level, and we'll call this main menu, because why not? And we'll save all that stuff we've done. And in the main menu, all we've got to do is in the world settings, we need to set the game mode. Oop. I can't read it from here. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to make a game mode for the main menu. So game modes are super, super simple classes. And this is going to be main menu game mode. And in this case, it's just going to define our HUD, which is our main menu HUD. And then we're going to set our game mode to main menu game mode. And now, if we play, please work. There it is. Look at that. There's our main menu. So of course you could have anything you want in this level. You could have an animated camera or your model or whatever. This is just a totally blank level. And if I hit quit, it'll quit. If I hit play, it'll give us the same sort of error. We haven't defined the names of our levels for it to load. So we just have to either subclass those HUD classes, or just go in, and in that HUD class, you will see there's a main menu level name, and we'll call that main menu. We'll close that. And then in our main menu, we have a start level, which, what is that level called? It is our map, and it is twin stick example map. I'm just going to copy that and put it right in there. Done. Done and done. And now when I hit play, it'll compile all those. And when I hit play, it'll load up our level. Ta-da! So now we've added a pause menu, a main menu, and a loading screen, which just gives your game a lot more polish. And you can see how easy it is to set that stuff up. And you can use it as an example to build your own HUD. There's also a UFO game demo in here. So if you pop this guy open, it's a much more complete. I just kind of did what I did here, but built an entire, oh no, source control. Never do this. That's worst practices there. So here's our main menu, which shaders are compiling. And I'll hit play, and it'll load up my game here and force even more shaders to compile. It'll work. It will. So the main menu is going to load up this level 1 here. And it looks super cool with my missing shaders. So I've got a HUD here that I built, and all of the content in here is from the Game Jam toolkit. So I didn't get any content from anywhere else. And you've got to hit all these targets in under 30 seconds. And if you do, you win! Woo! And you can retry the level, etc. So you can take a look at that and see how I integrated that a little more deeply into the toolkit. The toolkit also has a ton of other particle systems. It's got the master material for you to use to set up your materials, material instances, effects, landscape stuff. I just went through a bunch of the content examples and pulled a bunch of kind of really useful stuff to put in there that you can really quickly prototype, and you don't have to download a ton of stuff and migrate and fix up everything. It's just ready, just throw it in there and use it. And you can see how quick you can do that. So let me get back to this guy, PowerPoint. Oh yeah. So I'm going to reiterate again, make it playable, test in Pi, because it's super quick. And then once it works, and it works in Pi, then cook, package, and test it as early as possible. Once you have a first playable, make sure it packages, and make sure it's playable in the packaged version. So if you're new to UE4, cooking and packaging might be a little confusing. So when you hear these terms, cooking is where we prepare all the content for your game, or the engine prepares the content for your game. I don't go and do it personally. It prepares it to be packaged. So it takes out all of the source stuff and optimizes it and prepares it for whatever platform you're going to, Windows, mobile, etc. And then packaging takes that cooked content and packages it with an exe and a version of the engine. So in editor, you can test, if I come back here real quick, you can test, so this is play in editor. You can also test a standalone game, which launches it without the editor running in its own process. And then you can launch here, and this launch does just the cooking part. So you can test in the editor with a cooked build without doing the whole packaging, and it should be fairly close. But in the end, you really have to go package Windows 64-bit, and get it to an exe. So the number one problem I've seen people in game jams freak out and come to me and go, I packaged and then I run it and it crashes. What you have to do is set in your project settings, you have to set the game default map. This won't be set for you. It'll be blank in any new project. And it's what tells the cooker what map to start with. And so if you don't define that, no maps will be included. And it has no way of loading anything, so it crashes. So we've got to tell it which map. And once you do that, you package, it'll load that map as the first map. In this case, I've set it to the main menu map. Second, you'll want to reduce your package size, especially when you're using a lot of marketplace content. By default, when you cook and package, it takes everything in your content folder and processes it. So if you've downloaded, or put the Elemental demo in there, that's like 3.5 gigabytes of art assets, and you just use that one explosion. Well, it's going to cook all of that stuff, unless you use these options. So I recommend clicking on in the project settings packaging. This is under the little advanced tab. You can see I've opened it up here. But turn on cook only maps. So that will only cook the assets that are referenced within maps in your project. And to create compressed cooked packages, which will make your overall install much, much smaller. In fact, for just the Game Jam toolkit and that UFO example, this is how big the packaged project was, 556 megabytes versus 238 when I check those two check boxes. And so the more content that you've got in your game too, that difference will be even more dramatic. So another thing we talked about was reducing scope. Cut it down. Keep it real. You're not going to make the next Fortnite or the next Minecraft in a weekend. You might maybe make Flappy Bird. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you could do that.
I don't know that it'll be the same success, but hey, that would be awesome.
You never know.
Keep it fast. Don't plan on a feature that'll take 2 days to develop and you have no time to make it. Just try and break it down into small, achievable chunks. And keep it good enough. Don't make it perfect. If it works, move on. If you're lucky, you'll have time to polish at the end. Remember that everyone else that's building these is under the same constraints. So they're rocking through it just as fast. And whoever does it fastest is going to come out at the end with the game. Then reduce your scope some more. So Mike Nolan suggests finding your core pillar, whatever is that fun thing in your game, and mercilessly cutting everything else out, even if it's super cool, even if it would have just made it just the best thing. If it's not working, cut it. And also I'd like to add, don't get bogged down with the Unreal gameplay framework. I think a lot of people get confused with game modes and player state classes and HUDs and player controllers. You'll notice in both the UFO example and the templates, there's no player controller. Everything's done directly in the pawn, which isn't best practices for an overall UE4 game. I normally wouldn't walk into a classroom and say, throw it all in the pawn, move it later.
Right.
But in a game jam, throw it all in the pawn. I'm using a HUD class, but that's really only because it makes it easier for me to abstract it and create a tool that anyone can use. You could throw all your HUD stuff into your pawn too. Throw your timers and your scores, and you can just put it all in the pawn. no one's going to look. No one's
Yeah.
doing code review.
Mm-mm.
If it runs in the end, it's good. Of course, if you're trying to do multiplayer or something fancy, you'll probably have to dig into the gameplay framework, which is what it was designed for, is epic scale multiplayer games and managing those, the replication and the data and all of that stuff. Is really why that gameplay framework is there. So for these small single player, multi-local player games, you can skip a lot of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
and just make it easy on yourself.
Yep.
And again, take care of yourself. Sleep. If you don't, you'll make mistakes and you'll slow yourself down. You can only crunch for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to go home. You've got to, watch your show, get some rest, wake up refreshed. It'll save you more time in the end, because if you're 2 days into a stream or into a game jam, you're going to be making a lot of mistakes. There's just no way to keep your brain that on it.
Right.
Drink lots of water. Dehydration is a real problem. When people are jamming, they just get totally focused. They just drink coffee. Eat well, take breaks, sleep. But just remember to have fun. Don't stress out. It's just a game jam.
It's for fun.
So our main takeaways: get ready, use versioning, because you can go back in time. Leverage the resources that we've got for you and that the community has put out there for you. Reduce scope, take care of yourself, and have fun. And now, without further ado, it's time to start
Rules.
jamming. Woo!
Oh man. Actually, someone had a real quick. If you would show off the project launcher method of packaging. So.
Oh.
Scree.
You want me to do the project launcher, huh?
They were asking about it for
Um,
some help.
So I personally, where is that thing? Isn't it in here? Are you talking the session front end?
They referred to it as the project launcher.
The project launcher way of packaging.
Or they're just all trolling us. It's fine.
So, I'm not sure. So, there are two ways to package. You can either use the session front end, which is for advanced users. It's really for like doing packaging, with a batch file or a Python script. You can package your project without running the editor. It requires a little more setup and doesn't fully respect the project settings. I completely recommend using Package Project, going to Windows, and hitting Windows 64 here. And then all you do is just find a folder where you want it. Say select folder, and it does it. And it is nice. It runs threaded. It runs in the background, so you can keep working while it's doing this, which is really important when you're jamming. So you can produce a package version and keep jamming. Did I hopefully answer that?
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Real quick, I'm going to give a shout out. Well, one, thank you for going over all that.
You're
For
welcome.
those of you that haven't done this before, that's handy advice. For those of you that have and don't adhere to that advice, it's still good advice. So those are all important. We
You
also
get
want
what
to
you pay
give
for.
a huge shout out to our sponsors. If you haven't, you can still, again, sign up for Space on Assembla. That'll help you with your version control. Side Effects is also offering 3-month Houdini licenses, so if you're familiar with that or want to play with it during the course of the jam, this is a great way to just have fun and give that a shot. Just real quick on some of our rules, it has to include custom gameplay that exceeds any of our starter templates or this toolkit, so while these are great jumping off points, we do expect you to build on top of them. You can't just submit this, change the textures, and be like, did it? We do want you to be learning and growing and trying something new. And all art assets must have something more than the default material applied to it. And all submissions must be packaged, whether it's for Android, Windows, or Mac OS. We do accept VR projects, so if you're wanting to try something out in VR, we will give those a shot and we'll play through them, even if it makes us sick sometimes. It's fun. So we'll kick off right after this. At the very end of the stream, we're going to give you a theme, and then it'll run through Sunday night at 11:59, and there will be a submission form going live on the forum post. It's not there yet because otherwise it would have the theme in it. And we're gonna ask for information like your team name, some contact info for each of you in case you're a winner and we need to reach out, the name of your submission. We'd really like you to link directly to your zip file in that submission folder. And then again, any content that was created prior to the jam or that you've, whether you've purchased it or downloaded assets, we just want to know what you've used. And we always generally do a show reel of all the games. And instead of recording it, we'd like you to submit your best piece or like your favorite clip of your game. So if you'd like that included in the show reel, do give us a link to the gameplay footage. I understand some of you don't always get that done by the end of the jam. If you want to follow that, like send me that later, that's okay. Because I understand you're cramming to get your game jam done or your game itself done, and you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about this video too. That's okay. That can come later. It's all right. And we'll be announcing the winners on the March 1st live stream. So award categories and prizes. I know. Are they getting anxious?
Yeah. They're really going to hate that 20-minute video. We're going to watch them, make them watch too. Yeah.
Just the video of like animals, right?
Yeah, it's cute kittens and stuff.
So we have a few special categories. So we have the something reality. So if you want to try an augmented reality, a virtual reality, whatever kind of reality project, you're welcome to do that. We have best character design. So we're looking for unique and well-designed characters. And then the Tiny Award. So we're actually going to go for the best game that comes in under 100 megabytes. I know this is a very tight project size, but the idea here is, strip it down to its bare bones, but it still has to be, once I unzip it, that file should be 100 megabytes. And as long as I can play it within whatever's contained in that, you're golden. And so these folks are going to get Houdini licenses. So if you win one of those categories, it'll be 1 year Houdini license. And we have a lot of really wonderful marketplace sponsors that have jumped in. They're offering up their assets. So we have Low Entry, Silver TM, Panda Studios, W3 Studios, and Whitman and Olbert. So thank you so much to all those folks that have decided to jump in. And we'll have 3 finalist prizes. So these are folks we score based on fun, unique use of theme, and your visuals. And so in addition to the same things that the special category prizes get, they're also going to be receiving a 280 gigabyte Intel Optane SSD provided by Intel Software. So word is that these are super, super fast and magical SSDs. And then all those cool marketplace assets, you'll get some Unreal Engine swag. We'll give you a Game Jam finalist badge, and you'll get a featured playthrough on our live stream when we do the announce. So again, we wanted huge thanks to Intel. They're a recurring great partner of ours, and we love having them. They also have a great, quick aside, game dev program that they help you learn marketing and have promotional material. So if you have a lot of those assets, or if you have a game you're working on and want help, jump in their program. They're all about supporting small teams and helping you succeed. So check them out. They're awesome. And we're also excited to have Nick Honegger of Assembla and Ben Mears of Side Effects will be helping judge the games. So yeah, we're excited to play them. And I mean, we have 10 minutes left. We could wait.
We've got that
play the Jeopardy thing.
Keep watching this package. We can show the output.
Oh, yeah, the compiling shaders.
Look at that. Ooh, look at
all
it
right.
go.
I'll give you an extra
If there's any questions.
9-minute jump start. Unless there are any questions.
Anything?
They'll just not ask questions so that we can
Q&A now.
do The theme? Do you want the theme?
Show of hands.
I don't see any hands, so
Package
I guess nobody
failed.
wants it. All right.
What?
Theme. Could we get the theme?
Oh,
Could we get it?
sure.
On thin ice. It's winter and stuff, guys. So, on thin ice is your theme, and you can do whatever you want with that. Run off, make games.
I see a couple hands going up.
Yeah, lots
I
of hands.
joked
They
about
decided
hands, but
they
then
were ready.
someone found the hand emoji. And
They're like, oh, we're in. Ah. So yeah, I'm not even gonna, tune in next week. Hopefully we're trying to get the Zach Parrish blueprint theme, words, wow. Blueprint stream rescheduled for next week, so that's the plan there. Again, if you have more questions for us, and you're welcome to reach out, let us know. I'm available. Get those Assembler signups, side effect signups. And good luck.
yep. Very good luck.
All
you
right.
can do it.
We'll see you all next week. And I'm excited to play all your games.
Bye.
Bye.